Welcome again, our friends and the subscribers, and I appreciate each of you. And I want you to know that I pray for our viewers and subscribers that God would bless you and keep you, and to use you as well in your life for Him. And so, if you do have a prayer request, remember to just simply write into the comment box, or if it's something more of a private matter, some of you have my email. You can email me the matter, and I promise you I'll pray for you and I'll pray about the situation. And on Saturdays, for many years, I've had a special time of prayer, and on Saturdays, and on those Saturdays I try to make a point to do special praying for special needs, for special requests. Me and a good friend of mine for over 20 years met on Saturday afternoon and went down behind a graveyard and a pavilion at our church and prayed. We did that winter and summer, rain or shine. We did that for over 20 years. Every Saturday it was possible, we met and went down into the woods and prayed. And in the summertime we had to put on a little bit of a DEET to keep the mosquitoes off of us. And in the wintertime we even went and prayed in the snow. We prayed in the rain. We met and prayed for over 20 years. Ain't that something? And even since that, my friend, who's much aged, has not been able to go, and then too his wife, her health, he couldn't leave his wife, so he had to cease going. But I continued the matter of praying on Saturdays, sometimes up in the mountains where I was riding my dirt bike. And nowadays, just wherever I can find a place to pray, sometimes in a bedroom at the house. And sometimes I go out and just simply sit in the truck by the riverside and pray. And I just make that a special thing to do on Saturdays. And so if you would let me know, I'll promise to pray for you. Can't promise you much else, but I can promise to pray for you. We're going to pick up in our study today about the Cain and his civilization that he began to be the head of. We studied in Genesis chapter 4. It's very interesting when you look at the details of this, and look at the names that he names his sons, and the sons after him name their sons. Enoch is the first one that he had, and his name means teacher. Now you'll notice as we go down through these names, the El termination of the names of Enoch's sons lasted for a while, and for a time showed that they kept a knowledge of Elohim in their being and in their life. And Cain definitely knew who God was. He definitely knew that. I don't think he ever got saved. I don't think he ever brought the right offering or asked God for salvation. If so, the Bible doesn't tell us that. Probably the first man to die and go to hell. But we read here that even for a while, he kept the knowledge of God alive in his family, or his sons did, for a generation or two. After that, it ceased. And we'll note these names as we go down through here. In verse 18, now we're going to read about Enoch's children. Now, the first one that he had there was, and to Enoch was born Irid, and Irid, Mehujael. You notice the E-A-L in this. And Mehujael begat Mehusael, and Mehusael begat Lamech. And so you notice these right here, these names right here, as we read through them, and you'll find some meaning to them. You can see the E-L termination on a couple of these names right here, and it's referring to Elohim is what that's a reference to. And so yes, for a while. And you also notice in the book of Romans chapter 1 how that man progresses into a worse fallen state as he goes. Now let's read some more right here. Now we're going to read about a guy named Lamech right here. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. All right. Now you may ask the question again, where did these guys get their wives? It was either probably their first cousins. That's where they got their wives. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. He was the first polygamist in the Bible. The name of the one was Ada, Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. Now you notice that word Ada means pleasure, adornment, and Zillah means to hide. And so a little odd that he'd name these wives would have this name, but that was the name of them, Ada and Zillah. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents. And then also we read. Let's read a little bit more here. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle harp and organ. Now notice these guys right here, and the gifts that are in these men as they're born. Right here is Jabal, the father of such as dwell in tents, have cattle. Right here was probably a shepherd or a cattleman. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle harp and organs. So we got musicians in this civilization. And then Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. Now, so we got right here someone who knows something about brass and iron, how to make stuff out of that, and became an instructor of that. So they was probably building quite the cities at this time. He understood, like for instance, iron ore, how to dig it out of the ground, how to heat it and to separate it and to use that iron to build and to make. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And so right here is quite an insight to these early children born into the house and to the lineage of Cain, all the way from Enoch right on down. Now, this first civilization right here, this city may have been to the level of the splendor of ancient Greece or Rome. Could very well have been. These men were born with the intelligence and the mind to do these things, like music, like cattle, like brass and iron. And who knows what all gifts that their grandsons or their sons brought into the civilization with them. And as many of you well know, that there are people today that are just born with certain gifts and certain talents, and man, they can just do it. I mean, it's no problem to them. They can do it. There's people who can play music, and I'm sure you know people who can pick up any instrument that they want and they can play it. I have a brother-in-law who can pick up almost any instrument on this earth and play it. As far as I know, he can. I think he can play a piano too when he wants to. Amazingly gifted. I marvel at the gift that he has, and the sound for the music, and to be able to remember all those songs. I mean, it just leaves me kind of bewildered that he could do that. I've seen other guys so gifted in other things in life. It was just amazing what they could do. Some men are just gifted to be great businessmen, to make great sums of money. I mean, it can be amazing to watch some people use the gifts in life that God has given them. Well, that was not developed into the human family. That was born into the human family, those gifts and those insights that some of these men have. And they had it early on in the first civilization of mankind, which was the civilization of Cain, the city named Enoch. Those people were born, even though a fallen nature of man was in them, they were born with those gifts to be able to do. I know people who, and guys who are just natural at working on automobiles or working on anything mechanical. I mean, they can do it and figure it out and make it look so easy. I've seen other men who were carpenters who were very good at what they did and building stuff. And I marvel at what they could do. I sometimes pick up a set of prints and plans, and I look at how the engineer has drawn that out, and I think that was very unique, very good. His ability to draw that into the drawings and the way to build certain structures and to make it the spans and the shapes they wanted, stuff like that, is inborn in some of these men. They were just natural at it. I've seen some athletes, as you have as well, just natural at playing baseball, just easy for them to do. Others, various things, they could just do it at ease. is just inborn into them. They had those gifts. I've seen men who could pastor churches and excel at it, just like it was a natural thing for them. And it is a natural thing for them. They're gifted by God in those things. But like I said, my point is that this first civilization right here, they didn't develop these as such. It was inborn. Their knowledge and their skill to be able to do this was inborn into them. And we had 7 children, and my children are all doing very well. But I pass a little advice along. Some of it may be younger. Don't try to make your children to be something they ain't meant to be. I know you think, and I've had some of the same. We all think our children to be Albert Einsteins, and they're all going to make A's in school, and they're going to go out and become doctors and lawyers and great scientists and all. Well, they may not have parents like that. Why would you expect the children to be and do that? I know parents raising their children, some of them think, well, ours are all going to be godly and they're going to be full-time in the Lord's work. I wouldn't try to force that on my children. I hope you're getting what I'm saying with the word of balance. I wouldn't try to force that on my children. If the Lord leads them to do that, well and good, encourage them to do that. But if they're inclined to go into another field and they feel that's their gifts and their callings of the Lord, you encourage that child too. And don't you put that child down because that child's not full-time in the ministry. They may be as much in the will of the Lord doing what they're doing as the brother and sister who perhaps is full-time in the ministry. And I have one of my children who is full-time in the ministry, 1 out of 7, and others that serve the Lord, but not, say, in a full-time way wherein they're paid for that. But I think no less of the ones who work secular jobs than I do those who are full-time in the ministry. I try to think no less one or the other. Do I think one is closer to God than the other? Not necessarily, I don't. And but for the Lord's own reasons, He called one to do His work, and the other others He is not. And so anyhow, that's just a word based on my time and my experience raising children, and also upon what I read in the Bible, that these men here, even though born into a Christ rejecter as Cain, were endowed with certain gifts and certain abilities, and that one probably couldn't have done the other. And Jubal, he probably could not have been an iron worker, as Jabal could probably not have been an iron worker as Jubal, his brother, was. And so we can learn a lot just by simply reading the Scriptures and letting the Scriptures say what they say and let them mean what they mean. Well, let's read on down the last couple of verses in this segment here. And Lamech took and said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, "Hear my voice, you wives of Lamech." And that word Lamech, by the way, means to conquer, conqueror. So this guy right here, he was kind of building up his own self here. "Hear my voice, you wives of Lamech, hearken to my speech. For I have slain a young man to my wounded, and a young man to my hurt." He said, a guy has planned to kill me, trying to hurt me. He said, and I've had to kill him. He said, if Cain be avenged 70-fold, truly Lamech 70 and 7-fold. So he greatly increases the penalty upon anybody that avenges him for what he's done. And so he's quite the character, wasn't he? I mean, he is making up the rules as he went. And not necessarily from the Lord, by the way, we can note that. And so he wants his wife to know. Now, this young man that was trying to hurt him or intended to hurt him, we know nothing about him, where he's from, what the conditions were. But we do read right here, this verse is given in the Bible to this. Well, we've run out of time on this segment here, and as I've noticed that Cain, he was actually a Christ rejecter is what he was, and rejected the way of the Lord. Now, maybe some of you perhaps listening, and that's your life too. You've never accepted Jesus Christ, you've rejected Him, and you have failed to come before the Lord and to call upon Him to be your Lord and Savior, and to believe that Jesus Christ is the only sacrifice that God will accept. My friends, if that's you, Think about Cain. Think about where he ended up. Think about how life went for Cain and the final judgment, no doubt, that fell upon him.